Good evening, everybody. This is Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022. This is the Public Facilities, Arts, and Culture Committee meeting of the Metro Council. I do detect a quorum, so I'll go over the roll. Councilmember Bradford is here, Councilmember Nash, Councilmember Syracuse, Vice Chair Van Rees, Councilmember Young. That is a quorum. I do have a consent calendar. I will go ahead and read those numbers off. RS 2022-1674, Taylor, Swar, Bradford, and others. RS 2022-1675, Swar, Bradford. RS 2022-1676, Swar, Bradford. RS 2022-1677, Swar, Bradford. RS 2022-1678, Taylor, Swar, Bradford, and others. And RS 2022-1679, Taylor, Swar, Bradford, and others. Any of those need to be pulled from consent. All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second? All right, all those in favor of the consent calendar?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Do you need to read the captions?
Oh, that's right, thank you. All right.
For the record.
We just want to hear you.
All right, so RS 2022-1674 approves a grant from David P. Crabtree to the Metro Nashville Parks and Recreation Department to provide funding for improvements to Elizabeth Park and the surrounding area. 1675 approves a grant from the Friends of Warner's Park to the Metro Board of Parks and Recreation to provide seasonal staffing for the Special Work Education and Trails Program at Warner Parks. 1676 approves a grant package from the Friends of Warner Parks to the Metro Board of Parks and Recreation to continue funding staff positions and copier costs. 1677 approves an in-kind grant from the Friends of Warner Parks to the Metro Board of Parks and Recreation to provide funding for the next phase of improvements in Warner Parks. 1678 approves an in-kind grant from Sweetens Cove to the Metro Board of Parks and Recreation to support landscaping, a new flagpole, lighting, signage, and other improvements at the Ted Rose Golf Course. And 1679 accepts a donation and grant from the Curb Center at Vanderbilt in conjunction with Creative Parks Nashville and the Centennial Park Conservancy to the Metro Board of Parks and Recreation for the sculpture donation Pathway to a Higher Note and annual financial support for maintenance and repair. So with reading those captions again, just to be on the safe side, let's get another motion on consent.
So moved.
Second.
All right, and all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, I see Councilmember Hurt has joined us. Any opposed? All right, so that gives 6 in favor, none against on consent. All right, moving on to our first item, RS 2022-1663, O'Connell, Swar, Bradford, and others. This amends Resolution RS 2022-1310 by transferring $100,000 in American Rescue Plan Act funds appropriated from Fund Number 30216 to the Metropolitan Department of Parks and Recreation, the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department, and Metropolitan Nashville Public Library. Do I have a motion on the bill?
So moved.
And a second? All right. The reason I did not put this on consent is I was wanting to know if there's anyone from Parks or MMPD or the library that can kind of explain what these dollars are going to be used for.
Probably in the analysis.
Well, I can go first.
Yeah, please do.
I'm with the library. This is $10,000 to go to the Pruitt Branch Library, and it's to help purchase some equipment for after-school and supervised activities. When the pandemic hit, we had to reduce hours, close the branch. We're starting to get programming back, but we're trying to attract younger kids in. And so to do that, we're getting gaming systems and that kind of stuff to attract them into the library so that they can have a safe place to be.
Cool. Anyone from Parks?
Yes, it's for the Napier Community Center, $100,000 for Napier Community Center.
All right. Any other questions or discussion on the bill? All right. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? All right. That is approved. RS 2022-1673, Sledge, Allen, Bradford, and others, terminates an agreement between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, the Tennessee Valley Authority, and the Nashville Electric Service, and the Adventure Science Center related to the installation of solar-powered electricity generating facility at the Adventure Science Center. We do have a letter to approve from Councilmember Sledge. My own.
Second.
Okay, got a motion motion and a second. My only question on this is there anyone that can explain why we are terminating this agreement?
Thank you, Chair Bradford. I saw the language you saw and was likewise petrified. Macy Amos at Metro Legal explained that they are not actually terminating the solar generation operation of it. That will continue. It's just that Adventure Science Center's contract with TVA has expired. They see no reason to perpetuate it through them, but it will continue to generate clean solar energy for the Adventure Science Center.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving on to the main event. Bills on second reading, BL 2022-1250, Stiles, Welsh, Toom, and others. Amends Title II of the Metro Codes to create the Nashville Entertainment Commission. We do have a substitute by Councilmember Stiles. So let's go, we'll move the bill, then we'll move the substitute. Is that the proper motion? Or move the substitute
Moves the
first? All right.
substitute.
Motion on the substitute?
I'll move that.
All right, and a second? Second on the motion to substitute. All right. Hearing none, motion on the bill as is.
I'll move it for discussion.
Okay.
I'll second it for
All right.
discussion.
So we have a motion and second on the bill as is. Would any of the sponsors like to speak?
Sure, thank you very much, Chair. So, again, we're back to talk about the Nashville Entertainment Commission. And this, in essence, would be a body that could help in terms of marketing and promotion across all of our creative industries. It's music, film, entertainment, all of our additional media that is coming here to town. In the past, there have been attempts to have offices or groups that deal with entertainment here in town, and they haven't been very successful. So the goal here being to do something that hasn't been done before. We often operate in silos here in town, and this is an opportunity not to prioritize any industry over the other, understanding, of course, that we are Music City USA, but we also have several other industries that have been neglected over time. So having this commission, all of those entities would be there. It's an 11-person commission. I added in the substitute, which you all did not pass, but in the substitute, a third union member, so it would be Screen Actors Guild, AFTRA, as well as IATSE, and also the American Federation of Musicians. This commission is committed to equity and diversity as well, which is something that has been neglected in the past overall in terms of dealing with entertainment here in town. And again, the way that it would be configured, you could never have more than six members of any industry on that board. So we're not becoming an entirely music commission or an entirely film commission, but it does allow all members from the creative industries to talk about what's happening and be able to assist with the Office of Music, Film, and Entertainment.
Councilmember Young, I saw your hand.
Yeah, Ms. Darby, could you tell us where are we at on the timing of this bill as far as the number of deferrals and where it's at, and how many times has it been deferred? Do you know?
It's been deferred 3 times. On the last deferral, which was at the last meeting, it was an automatic indefinite deferral.
Right.
And the sponsor came in and requested that it be placed back on the agenda.
And so tonight, it can't be deferred again, or essentially if it is deferred, then it is legislation dead, so to speak?
Rule 43 would require that if the legislation is deferred again, that it will be considered an automatic withdrawn and removed from the agenda, and to move forward would have to be refiled.
All right, so I wanted to make sure we understood where we're at procedurally. I and some others here attended the stakeholders meeting held yesterday evening, and I kind of got the impression, or I thought maybe what the goal was for everyone to be able to listen to input and work on this more, but we don't have any amendments or other substitutes before us, so I can't help but think that yesterday was nothing but a little bit of theater, maybe, by the sponsor to be able to check off a box saying that input was sought. I don't see any input presented or any changes reflected. think a very intentional way of going about this is the way to do it. And I think when there is such division from some of even the stakeholders in the room last night, it felt like not everyone was on the same page. And I don't like the tone that has come out of this legislation. And I think this is something that ultimately should be a feel-good piece of legislation, and it's not. And so I think that right there shows us and indicates that this is not the right course of action, and that another attempt needs to be made that includes actual input and engagement that leads to actual changes, and that input reflected in legislation. And I think the actual engage. I mean, it's my understanding from the mayor's office, there's a meeting later in August, and I just, not being in the creative sector myself, but only from what I have heard, I have a hard time thinking that this is the right way to go about this. So I will be voting no. And if maybe someone thinks it's a little nicer to defer it, so that's automatically withdrawn. At the end of the day, this has unfortunately become very toxic, and I don't think the right way to go about this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
No problem. Anybody else have anything to say on the topic?
Well, I would say that what I got from the stakeholders is that everyone seems to want this, that they see that it's something good, but the way that it has gone about it has not been the most desired. But ultimately, we do want an establishment that can house our magnificent entertainment industry that we have here. And how we get there, I'm just not sure. But I agree with Councilmember Young, the way that it feels is not a good thing, and it is something that should feel good. And that's the unfortunate piece.
I agree on all that. It seems like from the conversations we've been hearing the last few weeks and on this matter, it seems like we just need to do a hard reboot. Just throw everything out, start over from scratch. Do you have one more thing you would like to add, Councilmember?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I did want to correct Councilmember Young because there has been a change. So the additional union member, that happened after our last meeting and having a conversation with Dave Pomeroy, who was there last evening, who's the president of that federation, and he had called me and we had a conversation, and that's how that moved forward. None of the work that has been done for over a year has been done in a silo. Many of the people that were there last night were people that had communications. This is not me by myself. I think a lot of narrative that has been presented you're correct, it has been very toxic, and it has been combative. That has not been intentional and tried to be avoided. And unfortunately, sometimes we don't all get along. And as much as we would all like to be able to kumbaya and work together, it doesn't always work. So, thank you.
All right. Any further discussion from the committee on this? All right. So we've had a motion and a second. So all those in favor of 1250 say aye. Opposed?
No.
I will vote no as well. So we have one abstention. All right, so one abstention and
Yeah, I'm staying.
two abstentions and 1, 2, 3, 4 noes and none in favor. Okay, so my math, the bill fails. Now, before we adjourn, I did want to take some time to, first of all, introduce our new chair of the Metro Arts Commission, District 13's Mattia Powell. Congratulate her on the new position. And then we have the interim director, Myers, and the DEI team to come just give a brief update on where they are at with the HR investigations and just from there.
Yeah, I'll try to be as quick as possible. Basically, as many of you know, there have been 5 investigation reports from Metro HR, which in turn, resulted no findings against former Director Vincent, but recommendations were listed for process improvements. And from those recommendations, the commission enacted 6 action items to begin changes. Basically, the hiring of an outside consultant experienced in DEI to work with staff. That has been on hold because we've been working with the Metro DEI officers, and we're kind of taking their lead on that for right now, and we have been working with their consultant. We are continuing the collaboration with Metro Equity personnel, Andrea and Rajel Jones, and basically that's been ongoing for an entire year plus at this point. 18 months, and has been very successful, very enriching with the staff. We've been reviewing recommendation of the additional management and leadership training for all management level employees. This actually occurred before investigations that we've been biased as a mandatory training. We've been asking all Metro Arts managers to take the HR Supervisory Development Institute, which is something they offer that is a 6-week course that managers can take. And continuing on, we've conducted basically a review with Metro HR with our chair of the Committee for Anti-Racism on the usage of PIPs, which are performance improvement plans. We met with Stephen Kane, the Metro HR manager, last week, and basically just went over the PIP process and tried to isolate ways that we can improve the utilization of this system. And at this point, Commissioner Angelico will be presenting that to the CARE Committee for additional recommendations on ways that we can implement it within our office. We've been utilizing upcoming. We are currently and need to be in strategic planning process. We have a designated strategic consultants, which Chair Powell has been leading, but right now we have been on hold while we are in the search process, and we've just recently accepted a new executive director, so my time is limited as interim director. And then with that step, we've instituted basically every 3-month review process in which the commission will review where our statuses are on all these action items, just moving forward. And basically, we've had one update, and kind of with some adjustments made by the DEI team, then we've kind of been adjusting as needed. Some additional improvements. New director has been hired, Daniel Singh. He's fantastic. I'm really excited to work with him. We've developed and adopted an equity lens that we are applying to all processes through Metro Arts. All staff has worked with the DEI leadership throughout the entire year, and they have developed a high-level summary of where we have been and what's been done and where it's leading to. And then additionally, we've identified DEI training for processes for committee members and commission members, and identifying DEI training for all staff. And that's kind of where we are at the moment. And Andrea Blackman is here, who was also going to kind of step in a little bit.
Thank you. I'll start by sharing the work that we've done with Metro Arts over the past year plus has included a complete assessment, an equity assessment of the staff to go in and immerse ourselves weekly, 60 hours a week, to make sure that the staff are aligned with the mission of the Arts Commission, with the potential incoming executive director, but also with the needs of our community. So we did a full assessment of that. We made 5 high-level recommendations that we would continue on in the midst of the new interim director. We will work with this department for the next 3, 6, 9 months ongoing work. Some of the action steps that we have asked them to prioritize is to make sure that our team is leading the DEI transition work. We did ask that they hold off on hiring an outside consultant, so we make sure that they are aligned with our city's view for what equity looks like for a city before we bring in another outside consultant. We want to make sure that they develop a language which is common of the vision of the commission, Kier, the executive director, a vision that qualifies a true measure of what equity looks like. We've asked that they make sure that they establish roles, authority, and develop a new level of accountability for practices internally and externally. We ask that they identify a shared value system of what equity looks like, both community-led and also internal. We've asked that they identify the risks in the department as it relates to stakeholders and operationalizing what equity really means for our city. And our final recommendation was they establish a new system of accountability for both department heads and how to deal with conflict and tension before going to the next step of immediately filing a grievance. Not that we don't dismiss that, but we want to offer another step so that they continue to work with our department over the next 3, 6, 9 months. We're committed to helping with that transition process with the new executive director and with the staff.
Mattia, is there anything you'd like to say or add?
Yeah, I mean, I just like to say, I think in situations like this, we've had a tough year. I want to be 100% honest about that. It's been a really tough year, and I feel like a lot of times when you have these situations, there's this need to find a blame person, like somebody's the fault. And if anybody that's done equity work, and Andrea can back me up on this, is like, when you're trying to unearth systems of systemic oppression, then it is extremely challenging, it is extremely hard. And so, there was a lot of things that came out of this year-long, year-and-a-half-long work that they've done with the Arts Commission, and there was a lot of things that went wrong. What we hope to do is not make those same mistakes and really learn from what happened. And we're probably not going to be able to fix every harm that we've made. Like, that's just, I'm going to be 100% honest about that. But what we hope to do is never make those mistakes again. What we hope to do is build a stronger Arts Commission and a stronger community of art. And what we hope to do is really be inclusive in what we hope the city will be and what other cities hope to aspire to. I'm very excited about our new executive director. I think not only does he have, he's an artist himself, but he has experience in the equity field. So it's not just something that he's committed to, it's something he's operationalized. And he has a vision for where we can go. So I'm very hopeful about where we're going, and I really appreciate all of y'all's support and all of your criticism, because we need that, because we want to be better and we want to do better. And we have harmed, we're gonna apologize, we've got a lot of rebuilding to do, but we're committed, and the commission is committed to doing the work.
All right. I appreciate those comments in the presentation, and if there's any questions for our guests.
I don't have any questions, but I do want to say I do appreciate the work and the efforts that have been made over the past year. When it first came out about the problems within the commission or within the office, and Ms. Tribble had been, I guess, resigned or terminated, and I found out that there had been a settlement with her. So for there to be a settlement, then someone owned up to some wrongdoing. And I think that to have that is where we need to be honest about what is there, whether it is systemic, try to show compassion towards those who are feel as though they have been harmed, and make sure that we work from that moving forward. So I really do appreciate that, and the worst thing that we could do is ignore it or say that it didn't happen. So I'm really thankful that the acknowledgement has been made. And I hope everything goes well from this point, because of course I love art and what it means to this city.
And I've had the opportunity to meet with the new incoming director, and I think he's going to be a good fit and be able to help navigate the Arts Commission and the programs in a better way, in a more inclusive, more equity-focused way. And so look forward to him coming on board full-time. I know his family and them are looking at moving to the Donaldson community, so.
That was my next question.
Well, that's good. I mean, I love all of it.
Yeah. Miss that large.
Before we adjourn, I'm just going to let everybody know, for the next committee meeting, I was able to get some folks from for Negley to come give us a presentation on their master plan review. They've been working the last few months on getting community feedback on that. They did a presentation a couple weeks ago, so I've invited them to come provide that presentation to us as well. So with that, we stand adjourned.